Delarite, my MVVs, welcome. Yes, so Delarite, the arrival of 9 chiefs set Ofarende on fire. Ofarende was more than sweet. People were so happy with the outcome of Ofarende. You know, people say that when you pray that the journey should not spoil, you must first of all secure your own mind. That was exactly the state of the palace as the day of Ofarende approached. Everybody wanted peace for the great lion. Everybody wanted the reunion with his jewel to finally happen after 4 long years. But the fear from what happened during the last full moon ritual was still hanging like a silent cloud in the palace. The last time the chiefs were supposed to carry the Ofarende tax, disappointed the Oni of Ife. You remember, they failed to show up at the most important hour, and that single disappointment, scattered the entire, flow of the night. Okay, since then, the elders, everybody has been very, very, cautious. Like everybody has been thinking about what happened on that day when they disappointed the great lion. But they didn't know that the great lion himself had taken, precaution. This time, Ofarende, during the Ofarende, they said the great lion did not just invite 2 chiefs. He invited a lot of them so that if the first one failed, the second one would take over. If the second set failed, the third one would take over. The great lion had plan A, plan B, and plan C. So this time, they said the great lion created backup plan without telling too many people. Only 2 or 3 of his closest inner circle knew that. He had invited 2 additional chiefs quietly from outside Ile-Ife, men who understood the Ofarende process deeply. The 2 main chiefs he chose were respected men from their another city. One of them known as Chief Agun Le Joka, a very tough, traditionally grounded man who hardly missed spiritual assignment. The second was Chief Olufunbade, a calm but powerful traditional custodian who also knew who knows so much about Ofarende. They say days past, preparation moved smoothly, and the palace environment felt tense but hopeful. Everybody believed that this time nothing would scatter the Ofarende ritual. Nothing would stand between the great lion and the jewel. They have been separated from each other for 4 years. But on the eve of Ofarende, they said this very Ofarende, they said rumor filtered into the palace that Olufunbade, the second chief the great lion had personally contacted, was feeling unwell. Okay, at first it looked like a small rumor, but when servant confirmed that he had actually taken ill and might not be strong enough to travel to Ife, panic started spreading among the women in the palace. They remembered the last time. They remembered how one missing chief completely destabilized the last ritual. They remembered how elders started shouting at each other. They remembered how everything almost collapsed spiritually. So they were whispering, what if it happens again? What if the Ofarende fails? What if the jewel returns gets delayed again? What if? That was what they were saying. But they didn't know that the great lion, had made plans, and he did not panic. He simply told them to calm down. He reminded them that he had invited Mo Chief quietly. Nobody understood what he meant at first because they didn't know the details of his backup plan, but they said the great lion remained calm, firm, and confident. He knew what he was doing. Then came, the morning of Ofarende. Chief Olufunbade did not appear. His messenger sent word that he was still not strong enough to travel. Immediately, fear shattered the palace atmosphere again. People were talking and everything. The jewel supporters were tense. Even Dr. Sapphire noticed the rising panic. Adetutu, of course, kept telling everyone not to fear, that everything would be okay. Before the palace clock, struck midday, drums started sounding from the entrance gate of the palace. Not ordinary drums. not palace drums. These were the deep ancient rhythms of visiting royal custodians. The entire palace froze. People ran out, only to see guards coming in. 9 obas, fully robed, crowned, powerful, approaching in a long, dignified line from Osogbo. Behind them were chiefs, drummers, spiritual aides, and traditional attendants. They walked into the palace with honor, power, and calm authority. Nobody expected them. Nobody knew they were coming. Their arrival swept confusion out of the palace like wine, clearing smoke. The 9 obas came to support the Oni of Ife, as in the great lion. Omodela, right, they say when these chiefs entered, the palace busted into a new kind of energy. People who were panicking, before, suddenly started rejoicing. Even palace guards who were usually stiff found themselves smiling. Women started jumping in relief. Elders started thanking the gods under their breath. It felt like the entire weight of the past disappointment melted away instantly. They said Ofarende was now unstoppable. They said that was when the ritual began. The gathering, moved into the sacred arena created inside the palace for Farende. This ritual was meant to spiritually repair the bond between the great lion and his dweller. For 4 years, they had been apart, carrying emotional distance, pain, misunderstanding, and spiritual disconnection. Of Farende was designed to melt all of that. It's a ritual that, required truth, sacrifice, unity, and presence of powerful traditional custodians, men who understood how to navigate spiritual road that ordinary people could not understand. They said the 9 obas took their position, their chiefs took theirs, the drummer moved to the back, creating a slow rhythm that carried both calmness and authority. The Priestess Adetutu brought out the sacred items, the Orogbo, the Obi, Abata, the Aye salt, the sacred leaves, the calabash of returning unity, and, the tied symbolic cloth representing the separation that needed to be broken. The great lion stepped forward with confidence. His face carried seriousness and expectation. He had waited for this for a very long time. He had fought for this for a very long time. He had prayed for this for a very long time. Even though the jewel was not like there, Adetutu had represented the jewel, but they said the jewel was right there inside praying, for the success of Ofarende. And they went ahead and they did everything. Ofarende was successful. Now, the chief that was supposed to be a part of this that did not show up, they said he was ill. Like until the day of Ofarende, he was ill. But people said that sickness is not ordinary. They wanted what had happened during the full moon ritual. Their reconciliation process. They had the full moon ritual, the Ofarende, and the forest ritual, right? Now, the full moon ritual was the toughest. Just like this, they never wanted it to happen, but it happened anyways. Now Ofarende has come again. It was not supposed to be this tough, but the fact that, the jewel would not go into the forest for them to finish the ritual, it has become this tough. It was not supposed to happen, but it happened anyways. And now the forest ritual is going to happen as well. Now, this is what we are hearing. If the information is correct, I'm going to bring you more update. Do not forget that these are all alleged, rumored, unverified information making the rounds on social media and should not be seen as fact.